These phrases get weirder and weirder. Okay, so today's is cut the mustard. I've never heard this saying before. But to cut the mustard is to meet an expectation or to meet some kind of standard. Cut the mustard. Mustard. Steward. I took custard and mixed it with yellow mustard. It's so lame. Okay. Cut the mustard. Man, I'm drawing a blank today. You know what? We're going to take a quote, and then I'm going to riff on the quote, and I'm going to tie it back to cut the mustard. So cut the mustard, meaning to set a standard or to meet an expectation, reminds me of Picasso's quote of, learn the rules like a pro so that you can break them like an artist. I think Picasso is the one who said that quote. And I think it is a transferable quote across any domain or any kind of skill that you're hoping to obtain. Because skill acquisition is a pretty universal process. You take something like a skill, and you see it that what it does is it further enables you to do more of what you want or to more efficiently acquire some kind of result. And to acquire or to obtain a skill, you have to practice it deliberately in some kind of context. And what usually that context is it usually has some form of artificial but also natural rules in the environment for you to practice within in order to kind of cultivate and develop this skill. So let's take something like the guitar, okay? So I've been playing the guitar since I was about 10 years old. You know, I saw my brother start to practice guitar with the current teacher that I have now, Thomas Ritchie. And it was he and my mom that were practicing guitar initially, and I had to sit in on a couple of these practice sessions with him before I thought, oh my gosh, I want to learn this, and I want to get better than my brother. And so that competitive nature kind of came out, and it manifested itself in beginning to play the guitar as well. And then what I learned very quickly was not only that I had an aptitude for playing guitar, I really loved it. I also loved how Thomas Ritchie taught as a instructor, as an educator. But in acquiring the skill of playing guitar, there were a certain desired outcome that I wanted. And I didn't know what that outcome was. I just knew at the beginning, I want to play guitar and I want to get really good at it. And Thomas Ritchie did something that I thought was really fantastic. When he was setting the standards for me to cut the mustard, it was more about learning fundamentals, chord progressions, scales, exercises, form, posture, and kind of like drilling that into me with the hopes of building like this really set foundation for me to follow my curiosity into taking me down these like weird niches and genres of music. And so once I had learned all the fundamentals and I had cut the mustard, I began to riff. We started with jazz, then we started learning blues, then it was rockabilly, then it was rock and roll, and then it was a little bit of classical. And I don't remember when it happened, but there was something about this song called the Spanish Ballad, and it was like classical flamenco music. And immediately when I heard it, I thought, oh my gosh, this resonates. I want to learn how to play this song. And I want to learn how to play this song so beautifully that one day it might bring someone to tears. And that was the goal. was like, learn this song, play it so beautifully that one day it'll bring someone to tears. And so I started learning the Spanish ballad, and it's more classical than it is flamenco, but it definitely opened the door for me wanting to go down this avenue of what other flamenco music is there out there that I could learn that kind of, like the Spanish ballad, resonates with me. And so I brought this song back to Thomas, and I said, Thomas, I gotta learn this song. You gotta help me learn it. And so it was a really, really complex song, something far outside my comfort zone and my range of skill. But because I was just driven by wanting to learn this song and just being totally consumed by it, I would like, this is such a funny story, funny side story, but I would get my practice sessions in by going to the bathroom. So I'd be like taking a dump, but I'd bring my guitar in there and I'd lock myself in the bathroom, and I would sit on the toilet for like hours, just riffing, trying to play this song, sitting there. I was just in the zone of comfort, zone of creativity, right? Okay. But anyways, I learned this song extremely quick. And then I got the opportunity to perform this song in front of a bunch of classmates, because I was also taking like a guitar class at school. And I performed it, and I thought that was great, but I was so blown away by how big of an applause, how like impressed people were. They clapped and they were like, this is amazing. That afterwards, after I'd finished the song and the class was over, I had so many people come up to me and they were like, you're incredible. You're absolutely amazing playing the guitar. Have you thought about doing this professionally? And I was like this 12-year-old kid, 13-year-old kid, thinking like, I just wanted to learn this song because I loved it. And I had this goal of like one day playing it so well that it would bring someone to tears. And what I unintentionally had done was I had surpassed cutting the mustard. and embarked on this journey of wanting to learn all of these different flamenco songs. So anyways, for the next 4 to 6 years, I spent all of my time when it came to guitar learning a bunch of flamenco songs, to the point where Thomas could help me because he's very eclectic and wide skilled in all of these different genres of music. But we played for 4 to 6 years, to the point where I would sit down and I'd bring him a piece of music and he'd go like, I've never seen this before. I've never played this before. Let's learn this together. And we begin to learn how to play this song together. And our lessons kind of transformed into like learning together how to play this flamenco music. Anyways, it got to the point where I got too good that, thanks to Thomas, right? And being driven by this obsession to just continue learning all these different flamenco songs, that he said like, hey, look, dude, I don't know how much more I can help you. And he kind of referred me to a bunch of different teachers that were specialized in flamenco and classical to help me like further refine my form and my posture and my finger placement and the different finger like adjustments and music that I was playing, to really like hone it all in. And then I go on a mission. And while on my mission, there was a very hard, fast rule back when I served in Italy, which was you do not bring instruments with you and you do not play instruments while on your mission. And so for 2 years, I basically had to sacrifice and pin my passion and my love for classical flamenco music. And I was about 18 months into my mission. Yeah, 18 months into my mission. And I remember there was this boy, his name was Emmanuel, I'm forgetting his last name. Emmanuel. I just remember his name was Emmanuel. And it was in a city called Castellammare di Stabia. And we went in to teach him and his family, principles of the gospel. And when we went in there, we hit it off immediately. We became really, really good friends, and I'm still close with this family. And I just can't remember their name at the moment. But it was only after having visited, like a dozen times, that we were kind of walking through their apartment, and I noticed there was a guitar in his room. And I said, Manuel, is that your guitar? And he said, yeah, it's my guitar. Do you know how to play? I said, yeah, but I haven't played in, almost 2 years now. But I would love to, just sit down and play with it for a second. So he eagerly went into his room. He grabbed his little guitar. It's like a 3/4 scale model. So three-quarter size. It was a smaller guitar in like normal terms. And I had to tune it up, but it was classical and it was nylon string. And it was the closest thing that I had back to the guitars I had back at home. So he brings this into this end, I tune it up. I start kind of like warming up with scales and stuff. And the whole family kind of gathers around. The mother, the father, his sister, and then also his grandmother and his aunt, his 2 aunts. And they're like, well, just play something for us. So what I do? I thought, the song, there's only about a handful of songs that I've memorized and can remember. But the Spanish ballad is one that I know by heart. It's muscle memory. It's ingrained in my soul. So I thought, okay, all right, I'll play one song. So I get into my little flamenco position and I pull it off. And going back to cutting the mustard and also taking Picasso's quote, learn the rules like a pro, cutting the mustard, so that I can break them like an artist, which was at this point in the song, as I begin to play, I go, man, I could riff here. I could add a little bit here. I could slow it down real here and then speed it up really quick here. Ooh, I could add these extra little notes that like, I could finesse it and add like my own spin and taste to it. And so I just go into full flow mode. I'm just totally consumed playing this song. For like 5 minutes, I zone out. I'm not even there anymore. I'm just like one with this instrument, playing this song, riffing where I feel it's appropriate, and just kind of like letting the emotion, letting this instrument act as a conduit between me and what I'm trying to express through it to the audience. And I get to the very end, and then I do this little like harmonic little note that complemented the rest of the song really, really well. And I like finish it off. And at that moment, I remember feeling, man, forgot how good this feels. Man, that was nice. And I look up and the grandma is crying. And I thought something had happened because I, at that point, was just so involved and consumed by playing the guitar. I thought, oh, something had happened. Someone had called. Maybe she had received like terrible news about something and she wanted to be respectful and not like leave the room, but still kind of show her emotions because of the terrible news. And I looked up and I said, oh, I'm sorry, is something wrong? And I remember she looking back at me and she said, that was like music from heaven. And she like wiped away her tears. And I realized like right in that moment as she said it, like, oh my gosh, I have reached this goal that I had 10 years ago. Playing the Spanish ballad so well that it made someone cry. And I didn't even know it. And if it hadn't been for cutting the mustard and then breaking the rules like an artist, I don't think that goal would have ever been achieved. And so recognize that meeting expectations or cutting the mustard is important, both to meet a standard and then hold that standard indefinitely, or to meet expectations and then sustain those expectations indefinitely. It's equally important to recognize what really shines through in excellence is cutting the mustard and then adding your own authentic riff to it, breaking those standards and those expectations like an artist in order to have moments of memory, memorable, authentic, visceral moments that you and maybe others will remember forever. And I don't think that that comes just from cutting the mustard. I think it comes from cutting the mustard and then breaking the rules like an artist. By adding your own flair and taste and style to it, your own color to the thing, to make it uniquely yours and then uniquely memorable. So that's the idiom or the phrase today. Cut the mustard. Cut the mustard. Hey, oh.